Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We are excited to tell you more about the power of Pinnacle Series. My name is Rose Otto. I'm a partner manager with Equal Point Software, working very closely with the A2K Vin0 team in Australia and New Zealand. It's also my pleasure to have Lisa Gurman on the call today on the webinar. She will be introducing herself in just a moment. I'm going to just lay out the agenda and then tell you a little bit about our company and our relationship with A2K Vin0, and then I will turn it over to her. So Eagle Point Software is the company behind the Pinnacle Series, the solution that we're going to show you today. Lisa, if you wouldn't mind jumping to the next slide. So this company was founded in 1983. We are a company of architects and engineers, construction managers, customer success managers, and developers. And the solution we'll be covering today and showing you is the Pinnacle Series, which was created back in 2006. A lot has changed. The platform is evolving constantly. And in 2021, we acquired KnowledgeSmart to make it a complete solution. We will also be showing you that solution and how it integrates and how it provides even more value to our clients worldwide. We have over 300,000 users in the Pinnacle Series today. We are one of the founding members of the Autodesk Developer Network and an authorized publisher with them as well. And then we've been partners with Vin0, A2K for about 3-4 years now. It's been a great partnership, and we are thrilled to be working with organizations like yours. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Lisa to tell you more about why Pinnacle Series, why the solution was created, and then we'll dive right in. If you have any questions, please chat them into the Q&A, and we will be answering those throughout the presentation or live at the end. Lisa, take it away.
Thank you, Rose. So I'll be relatively brief with my introduction. I'm Lisa Gurman, a customer success manager with Eagle Point. I've been with the company about 2.5 years. And in that capacity, in addition to demonstrating the solution, I also work closely with our subscription clients. And while we do start with kind of an implementation together, a very customizable approach, we stay with our clients through the life of their subscriptions. So that's been very rewarding for me. But I do want to lay the foundation of why we have a platform, the Pinnacle Series, by just illustrating that with 3 of what we call our common problems. When you think about the challenges that you face in the AEC industry, oftentimes we can boil those down to these 3 problems on the screen. So thinking about continuous learning, knowledge capture and sharing, and increased productivity. Now, continuous learning, the first thing that pops into most people's minds when you think about that challenge is onboarding. I've got someone new or a group of new people. I've got all this information that I need to impart to them, and it's got to be organized, it's got to be timely, all of those concerns. And there are some features and functionalities that we'll look at tonight or this morning that will help you in those endeavors. It doesn't stop with onboarding, however, because when we're talking about technology training, the employees that you have in your work teams come from such different life exposures to technology. Some of them are self-taught, others have gone through formal certification programs. You've really got a number of approaches in how people came to where they are today with their skill set. So it's really important to be able to address specific skill gaps that people have, because we all have those unique skill gaps, things that we just didn't catch on to, we've never used before, so we forgot. And then there's always the idea that technology evolves. So as you're having to adopt new versions, new pieces of technology into your tech stack, that's going to be something in terms of continuous learning that impacts everyone in the organization. We won't spend a ton of time on knowledge capture and sharing tonight, but I want to emphasize some of the features and functionalities that would help with this challenge, in that if you've got documented processes, standard operating procedures, that kind of thing, you need that single source of truth. You typically don't want people going out to the web and just Googling that answer, because if we did a little test run of that tonight, you could get 5 different responses to the same question. So being able to draw them in to the same trusted and reliable information really achieves that consistency in project work. Because ultimately, that last challenge of increased productivity is one that's behind all of us. Like the stone in the Indiana Jones movies, it's always rolling behind you. The need to stay productive, to have everyone really doing things the same way, to have work product be consistent, as well as if you're in an employee's shoes, just understanding and being comfortable with how to do things is very important. It's very empowering that way as well. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and step out of our PowerPoint presentation right now, and we'll start actually taking a look at the solution itself. So as we do that, I'll point out just a couple brief things. The Pinnacle Series platform is browser-based. So you'll notice that it's portable, it goes with you wherever you have an internet connection. And it also creates this availability of content in different situations, applications, all of that kind of thing. Now, if we start by thinking of the need for continuous learning, I think that's a good first approach to think about how users are going to get value out of the platform. The most obvious place to start is within the asset libraries. So in these libraries, you'll notice some topics that are probably familiar to you in terms of content within an Adobe library, an Autodesk library, a lot of titles in there. On the Autodesk titles are frequently used in our AEC industry. We've got titles within the construction cloud. We also have content on how to work within Bentley and Bluebeam, but then you get to the soft skills. So things like business and management skills, health and safety, which does tend to be more US centric, but even packages like Microsoft training. So as a first approach, thinking about continuous learning, a user might come in and recognize that they're looking for training in Civil 3D. And what they'll find is that we have version year training going all the way back to 2012. Something we can assist with is turning off visibility for anything that doesn't make sense. So if you're only using 2021, we can narrow that right down. When it comes to the learning itself, you'll notice that we've got that packaged into these 4 categories. So let's start with learning paths. These are going to be collections of courses. 1 or more courses makes up a learning path. If I'm looking for something more fundamental, that might have quite a large package there in terms of 16 courses being attached to that learning path. But as a user, I can jump in, I can take a look, see what's included in this learning path. We can see if there are learning objectives that match with what I'm hoping to achieve as a user. We can also see a list of the specific courses that are going to be covered based on their topics, and then any prerequisites that might help us be successful. The approximate duration for all of this learning would be about 11.5 hours. Now, we don't think that anyone's going to sit down and move through all of this e-learning in 11.5 hours. That would not be recommended. These are intentionally built so that a user can enroll. They can even assign themselves a due date for completion. And then from there on out, if we come back to the home screen, there's this top area called My Courses. everything that is here because either a user went in and self-enrolled, or an administrator can come in and assign learning out. So as users schedule time or make time or have an unexpected opening in their day and want to go out and do some learning, they can jump into any of the modules that they've enrolled in or been assigned to. As they jump into the learning, you'll notice that it's a combination of text and video-based learning. We also have opportunities for practice. So there'll be downloadable exercise sets within the modules as well. And then some comprehension quizzing, just to make sure that this is not a passive experience. We want to make sure that the users are engaged, that they're not simply turning this on and kind of walking away. As you complete things, and this is self-paced, it's going to check them off along the left-hand side. You can always come back. It'll pick up right where you left off. So that approach of having users self-enroll and then kind of be accountable on their own for coming back to either the things that they enrolled themselves in or have been assigned to by an administrator is just one piece of that picture. From the administration side, you'll want to monitor the usage and the completion, and you can do that with our management utility. So anyone with the proper permissions will have access to this. You can come into, let's say, learning reports when we want to look at a dashboard of what's been completed, what's been assigned, and all the status that we can get around those things. We can start off with a dashboard that looks, at our time period accordingly. You're going to be able to dip in with a bunch of different perspectives here. Let's say we're looking at, the top courses completed. We're always able to go into report details and get some additional information by going into raw data, where then we can decide how this report looks. Right now, it's leading indicators by learning path name and then course name. All I have to do is bring these down, and now I can customize the reporting to look and feel the way I want to see the information. So maybe I want to organize this by username, and now we can jump in user by user and see what that user has completed in terms of coursework. We see scores, we see viewing minutes, all those kinds of things are available there. Once I've configured this how I'd like, I can just export it to Excel. So the data that you have access to in the administrative perspective is quite comprehensive. And we also want to be able to not just offer that self-enrollment and assignment of courses, but thinking back to that initial thought about continuous learning, knowing that our staff potentially have different levels of proficiency in the different technologies that we use. One thing that can be very helpful is assessment. So this could be a personal development tool. It can be a business planning tool, all kinds of ways that this can assist your organization. What you can do is send out assessments. So a user can come in and see that they have a new assessment that's been assigned to them. They'll log into the Knowledge Smart website based on this invitation, and they'll be able to take an assessment. They are prepackaged, however, they can be customized. So if you like an assessment but want to make a few changes, you can certainly do that. The real power comes, however, once that user has completed an assessment, you can attach a customized learning path. To take a look at that, I'm going to actually jump over into my demonstration tenant as opposed to the A2K tenant, just so we can see what a completed learning or a completed assessment customized learning path looks like. And that has the trophy icon next to it, which tells me there's an assessment tied to this learning path. And if I want to open that and take a look at what's been assigned to me now, up at the top, we can see that I've been enrolled in 15 out of 20 courses, and that's based on A couple factors. One, I'm admittedly not an architect. And so while I am getting to completely skip 5 courses, I still have content from part or all of those 15 remaining courses. If I'm curious about what specifically I was able to pass through, I can turn on that little checkbox and see all the things that I don't need to take because I've already successfully assessed through these topics, and they won't be assigned to me. So the user gets a very personalized experience there, allowing them to really save time and focus where they need to with their efforts in learning and development. There's extensive reporting available for Knowledge Smart that does, again, help you not just look at the results on an individual, but also a team and an organization basis, because you'll want to perhaps look at what the bench strengths of your organization are. And sometimes these can be eye-opening in terms of, hey, we've got a real talent here that we have not been highlighting about ourselves. So the skills gap assessments can be a real critical part of that continuous learning challenge that we have. Another approach that's going to be very helpful in this endeavor is the feature of role-based learning. So this is a module I've turned on as an example. And based on my sign-in, it's already reading what my current role is in the organization. So if we open this up, what this is telling me is right now, as I'm logged in, I'm being found to be an Architect 1. You can give a description of what that role is. You can also map additional roles. So we could have a previous, maybe there's an intern or other kind of role that leads into this. And then we also are able to show progression. So if you have level 1, 2, 3, or however you want to name these different areas, the functionality of having role-based learning is that I can put out a batch of content, and this can be from our subscription content, or these could be custom resources that you develop internally. All this information is put in front of me with the expectation, if we went up to that description, that I should be proficient in all of these things. Now, anything with an exclamation point tells me that it's actually required for someone in my role to have been through the architecture fundamentals. And then these are more here for my use if I feel like I need to review or touch up on these things. So that role-based learning is really effective as another piece of the puzzle. We'll have people self-enrolling, we'll have administrators enrolling them, we'll also have this availability to set up, where appropriate, role-based learning. So we only have to do as few or as many of these as makes sense in the organization, and they can be completely customized for you. With that picture in place, the other feature of the challenge of continuous learning is that we're always having to get new versions under our belts. So as you move along and adopt new versions of technology, we can also set up customized learning paths or experiences so that users can move from one version year to another. And one thing that we do in our subscription library is make sure that you have access to what's new in the upcoming version year. Now, briefly, I want to just touch on that whole idea of knowledge capture and sharing and how those features and functionalities are available in the platform. Again, being browser-based, there is the ability, should you want to move any custom content you have. If you have documented procedures, workflows, things like that, they can simply be dragged and dropped into our content management area. From there, it might be something you want to build into a custom asset library. So just as our libraries have, categories and topics within, we can build out custom asset libraries as well in this space that would allow you to highlight any of your custom resources. And you can completely think outside of the box here because it doesn't need to be just AEC based content. If your human resources or your people team would like to put out resources for new starters or with benefit information, you can do that. If marketing wants to put standards, they can do that as well. All of those pieces can be mixed and matched into the learning that's here, or it can stand on its own. So there's a lot of flexibility there for you to customize anything to what you need it to be. It's all ready for you out of the box, so to speak, but then you can make some very special experiences by taking any of the subscription content, copying it, making some changes. Maybe your content team vets through what we have for Revit or Inventor and says, this is great, I want to use this, but I also want to add something to it. You can certainly do that. Again, the goal would be to make a platform resource for employees that is a single source of truth, so that all employees, regardless of whether they touch AEC technology in the organization, can come to the platform and get the information that they need. So with that being said, we'll move on to, at this point in time, to productivity, because that's a really important place as well. Knowing that we're not always going to be in that learning mode. So when we're not in a position to be looking for learning paths and coursework and that kind of thing, we're in production now. We're working on projects, and in that endeavor, might have a question. The first place I'd recommend starting would be just doing a simple search on a topic that you're working on. With that, you can see that we have options to narrow down that search. So along the left-hand side, we can choose the publisher of the content. We can choose what type of an item that we want to take a look at to answer a question. And then we can also pin that to a specific technology. So if we were saying that, for example, we really wanted to just get a question answered by looking at a document, very possible. You can take a look and see version years. Again, these can be adjusted as needed so that we're not showing version years that are not applicable to your staff. But looking at a document, this is typical of what you'll see in our content. We've got bulleted or numbered steps. We've got screen captures. Everything is very quick and to the point, meaning I want to get in, I want to get this question answered, and I want to get back to work. It's all about productivity in this space. Additionally, we're not all great at asking questions. So if my search was more vague, or if I stumbled on a document that's not quite what I'm looking for, but close, we'll always have this related learning along the side, so I can jump into what I was really looking for. Now, some people are more tuned into video content, and so we'll take a look at what an example of our video content would look like. And what you're going to see here is that by and large, we try and make the video content very short and to the point. So we'll have 5 minutes or less is very typical for us. You'll see in this example that the video is actually under 2 minutes. So working with multi-story stairs, we've got a narrator, which I've muted right now so we don't have to hear that as a group, but you'll see there's also a transcript along the right-hand side. Now, if you do have any employees who prefer to learn in another language, we have over 90 languages available. They can simply go into their profile and update their language of choice. What'll happen then is the transcript will update to that new language. So if they're more comfortable learning in another language, they can do that. You can also record videos yourself to add to the content that's here, and you're able to transcribe those as well. So the video resources, just like the documents, are intended to be quick help resources. We also have that related learning down on the right-hand side so that you can find what you're looking for or jump into another question as needed and get the help. The third and last standalone item that we have in our training library is called a workflow. And I want to make sure and point this out because it's really special. Not a lot of technology training resources have workflows already in the subscription content. So these on their own are just really valuable tools, and they can also be customized. So if you were to look through a process like work sharing and say, mostly that follows what we do, but we need to change just a couple little things in there. All we'd have to do is copy this, and you can go in then and edit what you need to and publish it as your organization's, single source of truth. So users can come into a workflow, and they can either navigate along the left-hand side, so clicking on the area where they're looking for, or they can navigate through the actual visual document as well, zooming in, moving it around, clicking on it, whatever they do to access this document. They're also going to get this right-hand column that opens up again with bulleted steps, numbered steps in a process. We'll have screen captures when appropriate, but you'll also have what we call command links. With a user plugin, one thing that will benefit a user after installing that tool is that they can actually run commands in AutoCAD, Civil, and Revit. So if I click on this collaborate command, we're going to see that with the project that I have open, that's actually going to open the collaborate tab and pull up that dialog box. Now, I also have some other things going on just because it's trying to inform me about overwriting my file. But that command is actually running for me now. So the collaborate tool panel opens and the work sharing dialog box comes up, and I don't need to do anything else here except continue to work on my project. So it's able to reach into AutoCAD, Civil, and Revit and help you with those command links. You can reuse the command links that we have already embedded in our training, or you can create new command links as is necessary for the learning and development of your staff. While I'm still in this project, another thing I want to illustrate for you is a second benefit of having that user tools plugin installed. And that would be that we know that not every user is going to open up the platform and really engage with the resource every day, right? We don't like to ask for help as adults. And that really is prevalent, not just in AEC, but over the world and overall. So knowing that we don't always want to ask for help, this related learning is part of the user tools plugin. And what's that's going to offer is this dialog box. Once I've enabled this dialog box, now it's kind of following whatever I choose to do from here. So if I'm working on structure and I start to do something with walls, what you'll notice is that it updates what comes into that dialog box to give me related learning topics that I could quickly jump into, check something out, and just make sure that I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing at this point in my project. What are coming through here are subscription content topics. You can also make custom content come through here as well. So if you have a specific process that you need someone to follow exactly where they are in their project, we can tag that so that it comes through related learning. So very helpful to people who might be shy asking for the help. If they don't want to see that, if it's working on something that they're quite comfortable with, don't need any assistance right now, all they need to do is minimize that. It just sits down on the toolbar and is there if they need it. As they change and do different things inside their project, again, that's going to update and offer them additional opportunities to learn based on, me clicking on beam. Now we've got placing beam systems there available. So just another way to kind of increase productivity, make sure people have the tools and resources that they need to do the work right the first time. We also have some built-in resources to help with productivity, knowing that learning and working on projects is not always a singular effort. So we oftentimes need to collaborate, and that's where work groups come in. So you can set up work groups for a variety of applications. Maybe they're project-based. So everyone working on this project has access to these resources. They have access to a discussion board, and then we control who the members of this group are. We also have a dashboard visibility into whether or not they've completed the learning that's been made available to them. And we can even assign learning through this work group. So making these spaces for individuals to collaborate around projects, around teams, or around topics. Even the human resources work group has the opportunity to build resources in here. Again, have that discussion, have membership that's controlled so that owners can do everything, editors can recommend content, members can just consume and discuss. So those collaborative opportunities are another way to work with the content that's in here. Now, as we kind of wrap things up, at least for the purposes of demonstration, I want to make sure to also show you a couple of things on the administrative side. We've talked about the learning reports. We also have purview into usage reports. So just like the dashboard that we had for learning, we can also take a look at things like who's signing in. How often are they signing in? Do we have, peaks and plateaus here of usage? But we can dig even deeper into this reporting. What are people searching for? Obviously, stairs has been a popular topic, and that's really been me triggering that with demonstrations. But over time, users will come in and you'll be able to capture all the searches that they do. Do we have the right content available based on the searching? We can look at what they're finding most useful or valuable in terms of resources. In this instance, it's coursework, followed almost equally by workflows and videos. And the least used would be documents. So important to know for my audience that I could create value by bundling items into courses or by displaying them in workflows and videos. People find those quick resources. They really appreciate the time savings there. If I've sent out a link to some new content to my users and I've said, please take a look at this in the next week, I'm able to go into most accessed content and dig deep to find that specific piece of content and see who actually looked at it and when did they use that piece of content. So again, the reporting dashboard that's available is quite robust in terms of looking at things from not just the learning assignment perspective, but also just general usage. What are people doing? What are they finding value in? How is adoption of the platform going? Also available is the opportunity to set up additional groups. So being able to form groups within your organization for purposes not just of permission categories, but those job role groups that lead to the targeted training category, being able to set up groups of individuals based on their role or their function. Also have the ability to use single sign-on and Active Directory synchronization. So when this comes fully around, there's then the idea that users from an access point can go straight into the content that's most important to them. We can customize this landing page to your specifications. This happens to be branded for A2K and Vin0, using their colors, logos, things like that. Even where things are situated on the page can be updated and changed. So with that said, I think I will take a pause, see if we have any questions or anything that I could illustrate further for you.
Hey, Lisa, great presentation. At this point in time, there are no questions in the Q&A box. However, if you do have any questions, feel free to chat them in and we can answer them live. I think at this point in time, Lisa, let's go back to the PowerPoint, unless you have anything else to cover, and we can talk about the subscription model. All right, thank you. Okay, so the way that this works, it's a subscription, so you'll have access for a year or longer if you choose to do so. So as Lisa talked about, obviously, at some point you're going to need the training, you're going to dedicate some time. That's where Pinnacle Series comes in, but it's not just a one-time subscription or solution. This can really be used throughout your subscription, throughout the year, for any questions. It can really be the knowledge base that you go to whenever you get stuck. And also throughout the year that you have Pinnacle Series, you can go in and learn more or keep up with everything you need to know. Lisa mentioned new version years, for example, too. So all those important things. And then on top of that, there's also live events hosted by us, Equal Point Software, and A2K Vin0 to keep you up to date on what's new and what's important to know about. Everything is very customizable. Lisa talked about that as far as the asset libraries, the content, you can upload your own. It's as easy as a drag and drop. So don't worry about that. That's super easy to do. Our content is available in over 90 languages. We have great reporting available so you can understand what the ROI is on your investment. Unlimited cloud storage. So as you are, thinking of some materials that you can upload, maybe it's even a recorded, training session with A2K or some consulting that they've done with you, or maybe you've hosted a lunch and learn. Anything like that can be uploaded into the Pinnacle Series. For our larger organizations on the call today, we have Active Directory, single sign-on options, and open API, but these are all options that you can leverage if you choose to do so. Everything is set up for you. So if you are a single user or a small team, you can simply just add your users in there and they can start training. So there's no setup needed. This is just obviously if you are choosing to do so. So I just wanted to make sure to mention that.